last year, with all the changes and everything, there were 70% of agents, 70% of licensed real estate agents didn't close a single transaction.
Really?
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to today's podcast episode. You're listening to the Home Design Podcast. My name is Adam Kayce, your host, and we aim to educate, inspire, and connect South Florida with the industry authorities within their trade. Today, I have something special for you. We're taking a break from everything home design. We're going to be talking football for the next hour. So, just kidding. All right, we're going to be kicking this off and discuss how South Florida real estate is being redefined as our guest has all of the insight, experience, and everything for what's happening in today's market and the tips that you can't miss for buying and selling real estate. All with the man who is no stranger to a microphone. We're going to be diving in with this with Rusty Hanna of Sotheby's. What's up, man?
We're doing football today.
We're doing football, so forget about home design. We're going to be diving right into football. But
that's great.
You're here to talk real estate.
I am. So. Well, usually I talk football. Well, not all football, but usually I talk football.
You talk some baseball. You get some
we
other
talk
things.
A bit about everything. We talk about the torpedo bats. You see that?
Oh, I did not.
You ever seen the torpedo bats? The Yankees got like 15 home runs the first 3 games. Like the most ever.
I didn't know it was 15.
15.
Jeez.
15. Then more yesterday.
That's
apparently
painful for me because I'm a Boston guy, and I do have high hopes for this year, but not starting out.
Apparently,
so strong.
the guy who came out with the torpedo bat is he's on the Marlins staff now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, big interview with him yesterday. See, this is what you guys wanted.
Yeah,
sports. We're doing sports.
We're doing sports. But so as we're talking about you, this is the most challenging question of the day. But who is Rusty Hanna? And we might have to cut it back a little bit because this could be a long conversation. But give us a little.
It's kind of a complicated question, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, I've who am I? There's a lot to me, but I think I'm here for real estate, right? Yeah. So I was born and raised in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale to be exact. So I do sell quite a bit out there. I live out the west side of town with you. I've been doing real estate. I actually started in the business in mortgages.
Okay. Got
my mortgage license back in 1998. And then I opened a title company as well with a partner of mine, and real estate since 2002. I think 2002, somewhere in that range. So, So close to 25 years now.
Okay.
On that side of things. So, a lot of crazy stuff. Podcast we talked about. I was a singer for many years. But now I'm in the real estate space.
Well, let's plug the podcast for anybody who is a UM fan, football fan, sports fan, Orange Bowl Boys.
Orange Bowl Boys.
Yeah. So
it's a good time.
Everybody check it out because, if you love South Florida sports, but anything UM, that's where they get it.
Look, it's a guy show, to be honest with you.
Right.
We're in the off season, so we got to talk about all kinds of different stuff, right?
Absolutely. No, but as far as real estate, and actually, I like the fact that I didn't realize that you started in mortgages, had a title business, and that all plays into who you are, your expertise, your experience. I mean, really knowing every single angle, not just by being a part of real estate, but truly being a part of the other components that go into real estate. I
think it's super important for me. And I do want to take a step back because I thought of the first question and then I completely messed it up because I wanted to say first and foremost, that I'm a husband and father of two tremendous girls. Truly, that's me. But I was here to talk about real estate. So I just kind of jumped in and slipped up on myself.
No, and the thing is, like, family, I know you. We met on the soccer fields because of family, through family, our wives, kids playing together. I mean, but that's who defines us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Yeah. True.
That's right.
I think that for me, I think it's a value proposition, truly, knowing all aspects of a transaction, right? So at any time, I don't know the answers to everything, obviously, and in the real estate world, especially in the luxury side of things, I'm learning every day. I learn every day. I learn from other agents. I learn from people in the industry. I learn from yourself. I learn from inspectors. Anyone who has an expertise in their trade, I'm trying to pick their brains as much as possible, right? Just to better my knowledge of a transaction, but having the ability to understand the lingo of home financing from the beginning, and also title, and how the title process works. It's a huge value proposition for me. I think on when I'm in a listing appointment, and I'm able to have the conversation of, well, if they're obtaining financing, right? It's super important for us before we get into contract here to truly understand, can they qualify? Do they qualify? Right. How is this going to go down? And I can call that lender for the buyer who's presented the offer and have a conversation with he or she in regards to the mortgages in their language.
Right.
And it's, I think that it's a huge benefit. There aren't many people that I know down in the area, really kind of anywhere, who has all three and the knowledge and the capacity to provide the information for all three.
No, absolutely. Because, people can read up on it, they can understand it, but being in it and actually doing it and knowing how those businesses operate, there's a lot that goes into all components of real estate. But, and that's what's so special about what we do. We're highlighting individuals who are the best in the field, know more than other people, but really educators, people that are looking to communicate their passion, their knowledge, and informing anybody who's listening and looking to learn more. But talking about South Florida, so the landscape of South Florida continues to change daily. Real estate, it's been on fire. People moving here, not only, for a while, it was more of an international play. COVID hit. More national, people coming from all over the country for so many different, quality of life, tax reasons, whatever it might be, bring businesses. But what does South Florida real estate look like today?
Looks great. In a really encompassing.
It's beautiful.
Look, it's it's a destination. It's a lifestyle for many people. So I think that you're right. I think COVID, obviously, we had the transplants from the Northeast, which was super heavy, but we did get some people from out west, a lot of people from California, a lot of people from Canada, Texas.
Yep.
So it was one of those places. Okay, Florida's open to an extent. We're going to go to Florida, and a lot of people haven't left. A lot of people realize that, wow, Florida really is, especially South Florida and up the coast. Look, One Sotheby's is a franchise of Sotheby's International Realty, and we handle everything from South Miami on the coast all the way up to Amelia Island.
Okay.
All right, so we're the entire east coast of Florida. So our network spans in all of these markets that truly creates a paradise, if you will, right? The east coast of Florida is pretty special, along with the west coast, obviously, where they have premier Sotheby's, and the Sotheby's throughout the country throughout the world. I would say Sotheby's truly, and not that this was a Sotheby's podcast, but it is the only true global brand, right? Which is such a massive advantage for people who work with the company.
I was going to say, because if somebody's looking to buy or sell, there's a massive network built in.
Correct. Yeah, and we do it all the time.
Right.
The amount of money, the amount of opportunities that are sent out by me up to New York, South Carolina, Scottsdale, whatever, through people that I trust,
right,
and that I can still have a bit of a connection with, and then people in other markets that are sending to me because they understand that, Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, where my mother still lives, and I grew up on the east side of town, as you know, to Parkland, to Boca de Del Rey, all of that, they know that I've been here for my entire life. Right. So they trust within the brand. Super important. Back to the question, though, South Florida market is great. I think we have, the ultra luxury is still ultra luxury.
Right.
And I think that you've seen a lot of the same things continue after COVID, or from the start of COVID till, I think, honestly, pre-COVID till now. A lot of the ultra luxury stuff is up almost 90%. You're talking almost doubling the value. On the lower side of things, and we have a bit of a split market.
Right.
The ultra luxury still, it doesn't matter.
Right.
People want what they want, and if they have the means to take care of it, they do. From 3 or 4 million down, we're seeing more inventory, right? The interest rates certainly affect that. So it's a bit of a split market because you see more days on the market.
Right.
For the stuff that's 3 million and less, you see more price reductions, but it's healthy.
Right.
We have to understand that we were jaded. We were jaded with the fact that there was no inventory for sellers.
It was a gift for, I mean, the home industry as a whole, but for real estate, I mean, it was crazy.
It was crazy. And I think that it went a bit out of control on the side of the fact that there was no inventory. Buyers had no options, right? So I think now, certainly, I wouldn't say it's a full buyer's market. I don't believe that entirely, because I do believe that certain locations, certain pockets, certain price range, and certain homes specifically, I think we're in a market that's the most home-specific market that I've ever been in almost 25 years, which is nobody wants to do anything anymore. Right. During COVID, buy anything, redo it. Nobody wants to do anything.
Gotcha.
Nobody wants to do work. It's very
turnkey.
difficult.
They're looking turnkey.
All turnkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there certain types of styles or, architecture or anything like, modern's huge here, but we have that solid Mediterranean transitional, type of, design aesthetic as well.
Well, so I think you mentioned like 4 of them there, right?
Yeah, right.
So the new construction for the most part for the last 3 to 4 to 5 years has all been modern.
Right.
Right. So if you go into Fort Lauderdale, anything built is modern. Right. It's and predominantly boxes.
Right.
Right. It's just what has sold. So nobody's gotten away from it, because until it runs out of the ability to sell, I think people are going to continue to do it. I don't know. I'm not in the construction side of things. I would think that building that style of home might be cheaper.
Right.
Than building. And again, this is
actually, I have a little piece of knowledge for you.
See?
It's actually more expensive because it has to be so perfect. Every single side has to be like to the highest level of perfection, because you can see every imperfection.
It's true.
So it takes a lot more labor and things like that, where a Mediterranean style, the design element is the imperfections.
Of course.
And they have more elements and things like that. But we follow, and in particular, there's this one builder in particular that we shoot every single one of their homes, where from exterior to interior, like the eye has to be so on point and watching every little detail when it's done right. Because if you go into a home that wasn't done well, you can see the walls aren't fully flat, or the corners are, wavy, or whatever it might be, where, these builders even, baseboards hide whatever imperfection for the wall that hits the floor. I never knew what it was. You might know because you might sell these properties, but have you ever seen a riglet or know what a riglet is?
I've never heard of a riglet.
So a riglet, it's basically a reveal at the bottom of the drywall where it meets the floor.
Sure.
And there's a small gap.
Understood. Yeah, I know that. I didn't know it was called that.
That's called a riglet.
Okay.
Yeah. So that has to be so incredibly perfect. And there's just so much detail that goes into these ultra modern homes. But yeah, I mean, they're expensive.
Yeah, they are.
to answer your question.
I was thinking exterior wise, but but I appreciate that.
But no, even exterior.
Yeah,
like everything.
I get
has
it.
To, yeah,
I get it. Yeah. So you're seeing what I think decor wise, what the most impressive, I would say, decor that's truly coming in currently, and you can see it in all the furniture stores. You can see it in all the design shops. You can see it. Is organic modern.
Absolutely.
To me, breathtaking, like truly spectacular. The best style or decor or whatever that I've seen maybe in my career, and maybe it's just my eyes and my taste and what I prefer, but that is remarkable. And you're starting to see more all the staging, all the furniture stores. I was just at Restoration Hardware couple weeks ago. You walk in, the entire store
absolutely
is organic modern. There's literally nothing else in there. So have I seen much of it? No.
Right.
So it's interesting that it's so prevalent in the design space, but I haven't seen many builders adapt to it yet.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see when it's going to happen, because buyers want that for sure.
Absolutely.
You see it in the very high end of things. You're starting to see that filter in with staging and all that kind of stuff in a modern house. Right. So it's a bit, it's two different design styles, but they're melding them pretty well together.
100%. Because the thing is, like, when people thought or have thought of modern over the past 10 years, it's like that very sterile, all white, very clean, minimalist, where you're right. You start, that organic modern look, natural wood tones, all even, more of like the beiges and the taupes and all of that is coming to life. It's using wood and plants and greenery and all that.
It's all natural colors now.
Yeah. And even natural materials, which ultra modern, like they weren't putting in marble and, different types of stones and things like that. They were going for like the cleanest possible look that they that they could. But talking about where we are in South Florida real estate, because, it is different brackets, like the ultra luxury, when we're talking about 10, 15, 20, $50 million homes. I mean, I feel like every single day there's a new record. But when we're talking about like the $3 million down, that is more of like that mass market. Like even 3 million is approaching, luxury. But, where does the market look like, there's a lot of changes in stock market, things that we hear every single day. But what does the mass market look like in the sense of the next year, 5 years down the road? Are we going to see, you think we're going to see a big dip, or do you think that we're going to start pulling ahead?
I think any sort of correction that we thought we were going to get has already happened.
Okay.
And I think it happened maybe the last 8 months of last year. The real estate as a whole, rates went up. Right. So it was a bit of a shock to everybody. And you lost a lot of those buyers that were sellers. Right. That are in a home, they want to upgrade. And they say, well, I'd like the house, but I'm at 2.75%. Right. So you're going to triple your outlay essentially. So some of them are relos, right? So they come in or they leave, what have you. But the ones that want to stay here that are in, some will certainly make the jump. But a lot of those sellers are no longer sellers, which means we don't have those buyers. I think that the rates have come down some. It has settled some. I think ultimately over the next year or 2 years, certainly the rates will continue to come down. So I think it's a healthy market. I don't think the correction is that we saw. I think it was price corrections, right? I saw more reductions.
Bring it to reality.
Yes. So you saw, look, sellers are always late to the party. When it comes to a market transitioning, because for 4 years they could throw it up at whatever number they wanted. They were the only house in the neighborhood, and they got 6 offers, and people were overpaying. It didn't waive the appraisals, waive the inspections, what have you. When that didn't start to happen and buyers became more picky, I tell this funny joke. I think it's funny. It's not. Steph would not think it's funny, but I say, people didn't even care. Buyers didn't even care if you had a driveway. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
They were it was available. I'm gonna buy it. Now the driveway's too small. Yeah. It's a complete shift in thought process for the buyers. So what was happening in this price range? Reductions. Why? Because they were priced at a time and a value that may have made sense. But when you price it too high, and I think we'll talk about this at some point, you chase the market if there's a reduction, right? So we ran into that. So I saw more reductions the last 8 months of last year than I had seen the previous 5 or 6 years. I think that sellers are more reasonable. They're more aware that there's more options, there's more inventory.
Oh, for sure.
And buyers have choices, so they're going to be pickier. So the sellers, the good agents will inform the sellers what they should be priced at. It's always how it's been. So you're starting to see homes get priced properly and moving quicker, because they're not chasing it down.
Absolutely. And buyers, I feel like, they overestimate the wound that a seller may have, where it's not a bad market. We live in a bubble. South Florida is a different market if you look anywhere in the world, I mean, people want to be here. So, even if there is a major correction in the real estate world, it's not going to hit the way that it will hit other markets as it will here in South Florida.
Agreed.
But talking about selling, what should potential sellers look for, or are there indications or things that you look for that is the right time to sell, or as far as peak in the market, or anticipating things, because business and investments is all about anticipation.
Two different markets for that.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the split market, right?
Right.
The 3 million and under, maybe about 3, get 2.5 and under. That is what's the best time to sell, when they need to sell.
Right.
Or when they want to sell because they have a choice, they're moving somewhere else, they're leaving town, what have you. They're getting relocated for work. It's different. So is there a better time to sell in certain areas? Sure, right? Where we live, it's always best to sell as you head into summer.
Right. Okay.
There's more inventory. It's very school heavy related. So a lot of people won't put their house on the market because their kids are still in school and they want to make sure they finish school. But there's a lot of people in the same boat that are moving into that price point that need to be there for school. So summer's very busy. On the east side of town, right, where I do most of the high-end stuff, the season is completely opposite, right? You're looking at November through May. It used to be November through April-ish, middle of April. It's extended out now till May. COVID, it was year-round, right? Everything on the east side of town. So that's different. That's not a need to sell mostly. That's usually, it's an investment. It's a second home, a third home, vacation home. Say
snowbirds, people like that.
Absolutely. So it depends on the estate needs. It depends on, did they make money and they're looking to, look, I mean, you look at Palm Beach Island. Right. It's a perfect example of the most affluent buyers and sellers in the world right now. Right. Palm Beach Island, where during COVID, it was literally an investment, and it could have been an investment for 60 days. To where you'd buy something for 12 and sell it for 16. You'd buy something for 25 and sell for 31. And I'm talking 60 days later. So that's more of what's my ROI. Truly looking. And then some people want stuff just for family purposes or whatever. I'll tell you a funny story. It's not a funny story, but I was down in the Keys a couple weeks ago, and Ocean Sotheby's collaborated with One Sotheby's to bring some of the top brokers down to look at 5 or 6 of their newly listed properties that were all 15, 22, 25, 42 million. And they've never had those properties before. A lot of them were built on this, some of them are 8 acres, some of them are 3 acres. So they're like legacy properties. So we're thinking, well, who's going to buy these? It's the Keys. You're going to go spend $42 million to live in Islamorada. Right. But ultimately, I think that's a buyer that really may use that a couple weeks or a month out of the year.
Absolutely.
So they're buying it just to have it and for their family to enjoy it. That's not necessarily an investment thought process, right? It's a little bit different. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of tackle that question based on the market, the house, the price point. Some are needs, some are wants, some don't care, some are investment only. So,
and it all comes down to finding the right professional to be able to work with. Like if you're thinking about selling or thinking about buying, don't wait until you're ready to sell or ready to buy. Start the conversation so that way you can, if there's improvements that need to be made, if there's anything that, as far as personally getting finances right and in order or whatever it might be, you have to anticipate every single move to be able to be as proactive as possible, because, a lot of people, they're like, well, and there's personal things that come up where something happens, they have to sell right away. But anticipate it, find the professionals, and research, talk to different people in the market.
I have an opinion. Obviously, I'm in this business.
You have an opinion?
I have an opinion.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing my opinion on certain things. So it's important. You put it perfectly. Talk to people.
Right.
Be informed. Interview. right? So if you're a seller, I tell this to everybody. If you're a seller and you don't have a realtor, you don't have a connection to a realtor, your friends don't have a realtor that you use and trust, whatever, interview agents,
right?
Because they're going to be your partner in a transaction for the next however many months. So interview them, understand their value proposition, understand their portfolio, understand their expertise and experience within the business. How long have they been doing this? How many have they sold in this community? What goes back to what we talked about earlier,
right?
What do they bring to the table that's different than the other 3 people that you've interviewed that's brought to the table? Me, I understand the entire process,
right,
start to finish, of every aspect of everything that happens throughout a transaction. For me, that's a value proposition, right? So you don't have to talk to 3 different people, especially as a buyer, right? Which is totally separate. We were talking about sellers, but especially as a buyer,
right?
You don't have to talk to 3 different people if you don't need to. Obviously, if you're getting financing somewhere else, but I do have opinions on the process in general. So you have to interview people, and it's changed now too for the buyers. Right. So back August 17th, right, when NAR implemented all these changes,
right,
it's changed. The buyers now become more like sellers in the fact that you as a buyer need to interview agents,
right,
because you're now signing a buyer broker agreement with somebody,
right,
whether it's an exclusive agreement or it's a showing agreement, which is per house that you see,
right.
It all goes back to trust.
Right.
So find a buyer's agent that has the pedigree to be able to get you what you need or what you're looking for, potentially something off market, who has the connections.
Right.
So you always talk to people, you always get prepared, you always interview. It's wildly important and amazingly not done enough.
Without a doubt. And the thing is, so for you, we're talking about, that relationship. What does your approach look like? Like, it doesn't matter, buyer, seller, talking about how to find, buyer, how to find the right property. What do you look to understand for their motivation to relocate or upgrade or downgrade or whatever it might be? What's your approach in that relationship? Because you're ultimately a consultant, a guide, a friend, and sometimes it's better than, you don't always want to work with a family member because they think they know what's best for you, but having somebody who's truly listening and understanding, the approach is important.
Yeah. And I always say, just shut up and listen.
Right. Yeah.
Just shut your mouth, right? This isn't about you right now.
Right.
It's about your client. So you just have to take everything into account, right? How many, are they married? How many children do they have? Do they have kids? Do they have pets? Do they need a dog park? Do they have cats and need whatever the situation is?
Right.
You have to find out about the family and the people first.
Right.
What lifestyle do they live? Do they like to play golf? Do they like to go boating? Do they like to travel? And they would like less things to take care of.
Right.
So it's vitally important to truly find out about them, understand their needs, their wants. A lot of times they're not the same thing.
Right.
So you have to differentiate between, I understand you may want this, but you need this. And it's having the connections, right? Being down here my entire life, I have the connections throughout the communities,
right?
To where, I have the nuances. I know every street that there is to know in Broward County, right? It's one of those things where, you want to be able to provide knowledge to them. If they have questions, I like to have answers. We don't have all the answers. If we don't, we try to find out, right?
Right.
And the most important thing I can do is if I don't know something, I'll find out.
Right.
I'll tell them I don't know that. I have no idea.
People.
I actually have no clue, but I'll find out for you.
And it's important to be able to acknowledge when you don't know, not just try to fake it just to impress somebody.
It shows them that you're real, right? I figured a long time ago, I realized that it was important for me just to be me,
right,
in this business. You try to. It's just like everything else, right? You're in a space and you try to impress and you try to fake it till you make it, right? We all know that saying,
right?
But the reality is, once I just kind of stopped pretending to be something that I thought everybody.
Right.
I'm not for everybody.
Right.
So once I stopped pretending that and just understood that me is the best me,
right.
It really changed things for me. I mean, it's one of those things where you connect with certain people, you don't connect with other people. It's totally okay.
Oh yeah, for
right?
sure.
I mean, that's why there's a billion real estate agents, right? Because there's somebody for everybody.
But how many of those are actual real estate agents?
So
that's a different. That might be a podcast in itself.
That is a wild set. So I think it was last year, which was more than the year before. Last year, with all the changes and everything, there were 70% of agents, 70% of licensed real estate agents didn't close a single transaction.
Really?
Yeah. So when your father's brother's nephew's uncle, that may be the same person actually at the end of the day,
right,
has their license.
Right.
In today's world, that doesn't work.
Right.
Right. So for me, I love the changes.
Right.
I can have the conversation with a buyer, right, in regards to how this whole thing has changed and how it helps them. That's a tough conversation for a lot of people to have.
Right.
Especially either newer agents or agents who have been in the business who don't do a lot of business, who don't quite understand it.
Right.
For me, I love it.
Right. Well, it probably adds a level of transparency, because
that
it's
was
now
the
you're
whole
talking
thing.
about it. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because before it was kind of like, is it not? Like, do I talk about this? Can I negotiate it? What am I agreeing to? Where now it is all laid out there.
Everything's laid out there. Let's be very clear. Commissions have always been 100% negotiable.
Right.
Right. So the premise of the lawsuit wasn't necessarily on the up and up,
right?
In my mind, because it really kind of puts a bad taste, in a lot of people's mouths. Always been negotiable. I like the fact that I'm committed to you. I'm going to work for you. Now you can be committed to me as well,
right?
Right. So it's the old thing of you show buyers 40 houses, and then one weekend they walk into an open house and they buy it,
right? Yeah,
right. So I've had it happen.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So that doesn't happen anymore. You can see as many open houses as you want.
Right.
If I have the agreement signed, I will help you negotiate to the best of my ability.
Right.
And we will get you the deal. But I'm your representative. So for me, I love it.
Well, it was great for the industry in that case, for people who actually are agents that are working.
That work. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because there's a big difference. It's most people's biggest investment. Mm-hmm. It's the largest transaction they'll ever make. To just do that, to try to save a couple bucks in your mind, it's like trying to build a kitchen, but you've never built a kitchen before. Are you going to do it?
It's a lot. So you deal that on the seller side.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. The people who think they can sell it by themselves, I believe they can. I'm not saying that you're not smart enough to do it.
Right.
It's just not your expertise. I promise you that you're going to get less money at the end of the day by listing it yourself and working out whatever deal you're working out.
Right.
As opposed to having me list it for you. I'll make you more money.
Right.
Right. Whether it's because it needs to be staged or whatever the situation is, I'll end up making you more money. It's just hard for people sometimes to say, oh, I gotta pay for this. Well, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you'll see a bigger number wired to you for proceeds. I mean, it's most of the time that's the case.
Absolutely. Or faster, because it's also, every day or every month that it's on, that it's not being sold, it's more money you're paying towards your mortgage, towards whatever it might be. But everything that you're talking about is all a matter of building trust with the people that you're selecting also, because this is a two-way street. You can choose who you want to work with as well. So you're kind of pre-qualifying, and there's probably red flags and probably stories that you've had where like, I should probably step back and not work with these people.
I've had a few where it's not the right fit. It's not the right fit. And for me, it goes back to kind of what we were talking about before, and I want to tell you too, as we go through this, you're really good at this.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you are very good at this. So back before it says, or we were talking about how, giving you compliments, losing my train of thought. What were we talking about?
I have that effect. I don't know.
It's the eyes.
We were talking about, as far as,
gaining the trust,
as far as the trust and, what was I saying?
What were we saying? Anybody have any idea?
We all lost our train of thought.
The red flags.
Oh, the red
flags.
Choosing your clients. That's our studio audience.
I think you have to understand that this is what I do for a living.
Right.
Right. So you're going to get my best.
Right.
And in turn, I don't demand anything. I would like for us to work together.
Right.
As a team, because we're a team now. So the effort that I'm going to put into it, just a little bit of something. So you run into red flags? Sure you do.
Right.
Right. People who weren't serious, people who, and we run into this quite a bit actually, scammers, right? People who think they can afford things they can't.
Right.
So you have to be able to, and this is me giving advice to whether it's younger agents or what have you. You just have to be able to understand that some people aren't worth the time. No matter how great you think the end result may be, you're taking away from business or work that you could be doing and putting into clients that truly need your help and want your help.
Right.
So the trust is everything. Without trust, this business for me never works.
Right.
So I think it's like, if you need something done on the legal aspect of things,
right,
you can call an attorney, right? We all have an attorney in our head that we would call, probably,
right?
Whether it's a friend, a family member, a prior attorney, whatever it is. So for me, if you're looking to invest, if you're looking to sell, if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to just simply have questions and get a feel for the market, I want to be the first person you think of.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
I want you to think of Rusty Hanna as the person. Oh, I have a question about that. I just thought about it. I just had a friend of mine call me last night. They're looking at a different community. He's never been in the community before. What do you think about the community? I sell in there a lot. I was able to give them some advice. I didn't say, hey, are you going to look in there?
Right.
I'll make you some appointments. You called me for advice.
Right.
I'm happy to give it to you. Right. Whatever knowledge I have, I'm happy to provide that. And then in turn, hopefully sometime down the line, whether it's yourself or somebody else, you're going to say, you know what, that Rusty guy, he's all right. Maybe give him a call.
Well, that's why it's so important because, truly being an authority, not only in an industry, but in a market, in a neighborhood, in types of homes, in waterfront versus out west, whatever it might be, it's truly important to give information because that's how you become, you set and you raise the bar and you're a pillar in the industry and being that authority figure because information is everything and every single person is not a sale, but it can lead to a sale because somebody might ask you for a friend. Oh, I have a friend. I'll ask them, get some insight for it. And you never know where it's going to lead. But talking about, when we're going through all of these different types of transactions and we're talking about selling a home or even buying a home, marketing, staging, there's all of these different elements that will get you more, sell faster, appeal to the buyer, whatever it might be. How do you approach the marketing component in getting a home ready to get the maximum value? Or somebody might just say, listen, I need to get rid of this. There's different angles.
There are different angles.
Yeah.
For me, it's very important that first impression is everything, right? We all know that.
Right.
Curb appeal, very important. It needs to be presented in a way to where you can move it quickly. So back to staging. Staging can be a really great helper for you, a really great proponent, a really great variable in a transaction or in a listing that helps get it sold very fast. Is it an investment? Sure. You're going to make the money back. I promise you. Right. So for me, I have never in my career had a situation where the staging didn't pay for itself and then tenfold.
Right.
You know what I mean? It truly is because as you mentioned earlier, the longer it's on the market, well, the more months you're paying in a mortgage, the more of a proration you have to give for taxes that year.
Right.
Right. The more HOAs you pay, which are non-recoupable.
Right.
Right. At least on a mortgage, you're paying down some principal, but you're still paying a bunch of interest. So all of that is important. And the longer it sits, the more expensive it makes it for you. So for instance, if you have something that's going to be on the market for 4 months, let's call it 120 days.
Right.
You did no investment in staging, and you've outlaid $6,000 over 4 months, whatever the number may be, of non-recoupable costs. Right. If you stage it and you spend $6,000 for the staging and you sell it in a week,
4 more, probably.
Or more.
Yeah. No, but 4 more.
4 more.
4 more.
Yes, because of course.
Shorter and more.
Of course.
Right.
So, I mean, where's the win?
Right.
So is it an outlay up front? Sure. Are you going to make your money back? Absolutely.
Right.
And probably gain some on top of it. So staging is vitally important. I have different levels of staging. I have certain homes that are vacant.
Right.
And we'll stage a predominant of the major areas. And then you have some that have some really nice furniture, but the walls are bare. There's no rugs, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
I need white linens. I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but I need some certain things that need to be done to the house,
right,
which is a much lower level of staging and available. So all of that has to be done prior to photos, though.
Right.
Right. I really won't take photos until it's ready for photos to be taken.
Absolutely.
So for me, photos and videography, I'm a very big proponent of social media.
Right.
And I'm a digital guy, audio and visual by heart, I guess. So my stuff, when it's put out there, has to look
right,
pristine.
Well, you get one shot. You know, I mean,
I'm going to take it all up, put it back on.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And also talking about marketing material. I mean, there's a lot of different forms of marketing that people do. You know, you get mailers, you have social media, there's digital, there's all different components, MLS. How do you approach, you have your network, but how do you approach or know when it's worth doing a mailer or targeting certain type of people or social media, whatever, making that investment? Because you might have a home where you're like, you know what, this is going to sell in a week. I don't need to do this. I know what we're going to get, and I have the network to be able to fill it, versus others where, maybe a certain type of outreach fits that home.
Sure. And I think all of them all of them get all of the attention.
Right.
For me, whether it's something that's off market and I can put it together before it transacts, or before, maybe even after it does, maybe I know the buyer well, and before they get in, I will do my social media content.
Right.
Because it's all content, right? I think it's very important to show what you do. And social media has made it to where you can do that. So for every transaction, I don't care if it's going to sell in a week, a day, whatever, I'm going to have my video, I'm going to have all my photography done, and I'm going to have the ability to let people see it.
Right.
Right. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's my work. It's my portfolio. So if I let a trade happen and I don't have the content for it, when I'm sending out a mailer of whatever it is, the last 4 homes sold in here,
right,
and I don't have that, I can't put it on the mailer.
Right.
I can't put it on social. I can't put it in my portfolio book that I have printed and digitally, right? Which, for me, that's I always said my reputation is my livelihood.
Right.
Right. So that's all part of my reputation. So I make sure that every house, no matter what, is going to get the full treatment for them, right? Because maybe it doesn't sell in a week, even though I may think it should, maybe it doesn't. But for me as well, because I need to have that content for my business aspect.
Absolutely. I mean, social media is your most active portfolio. I mean, that's your everyday, what's happening. And even with social media, I mean, you can say coming soon before you get into it. So that way there's a teaser out there. Maybe it will strike somebody and say, hey, I have a buyer for this, or I want that, or whatever it might be. So it's important to be able to show things on a daily basis to show how active you are, the types of homes you're working with, the range of areas. I mean, I saw when you were down in the Keys, and when you're selling homes in Parkland, and when you're in East Fort Lauderdale, and all these different areas where you present yourself in the most consistent way as the expert in South Florida real estate. So it's important. But talking about, all of these different components, digital marketing, social media, the staging, the effect of it. I mean, there's so many different things that goes into it. But when we're talking about people who want to get in luxury real estate, or just in real estate in general, someone's a new agent and they're trying to find their way, what tip can you offer them as far as like getting into the industry? Should they have a mentor? Should they be a part of a team? Should they be watching Rusty Hanna on social media? Like what are those steps to be able to help somebody make it in the industry?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the market they're in.
Or how do you find out what market you're like?
Yeah,
is there a personality test that somebody can take? Say, listen, your focus should be here.
Look, I think
that might be a thing.
It might be a thing. It should be a thing, maybe.
Right.
I think that it's always the first thing, and they'll tell you this in real estate school, but the first thing is to lean on your sphere.
Right.
Right. You have to be able to lean on your sphere of influence to at least get some. That's where most of your initial work is going to come from.
Right.
Unless you do join a team somewhere.
Right.
I would recommend, if you're just getting in, to go to some of maybe the corporate companies, Keller Williams,
right,
or something like that, because their training is really, really good.
Right.
Right. They do train.
Where did you start?
I started with myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I hung my license with a very small company.
Right.
For a little bit of time, and then I got my broker's license, and I had my own real estate company called Property Impressions Real Estate for about 10 or 11 years.
Okay.
And then it was a transition for me. I wanted to be more in the luxury space and understood that my little company wasn't going to enable me to get there.
Right.
Right. So I had a couple different places, ended up at one place, and then I was with Premier State Properties for a number of years, luxury boutique brokerage, and then joined Sotheby's about 2.5 years ago. I'll never leave. Brilliant. Just the company, the people, the leadership, just fantastic. But it's about finding, and on that note, I think it's about finding the right people.
Right.
Finding the right fit for you, because again, everyone's got different personalities. Are you a team person?
Right.
Right. I've never had a team. I've always been kind of the lone wolf doing my own thing.
Right.
I like it that way. I collaborate with other agents in certain areas.
Okay.
Because I think it's good to have, some accountability, right? At times.
Right.
So it's nice to be able to get listings with other agents that you work with well. And again, you find those people that you trust, just like a seller or buyer is going to trust me to handle their transaction. There are certain people in this industry that I trust implicitly with my business, with anything that I do. And those are the people that I'll collaborate with.
Right.
And I think that, can you find people you can collaborate with? Do you get on a team? I think getting on a team as a new agent is really good.
Right.
Because you have your mentors built in, and then you can get leads through that team, so on and so forth. So I think that's learning the business, because I learn every day. Right. Every day.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's
every
the key to
day.
everything.
I was learning something yesterday. I had to
Right.
literally have a conversation about a friend of mine who was negotiating a deal, very high-end deal. And I wanted to know a couple of the steps, right? Without getting into details or whatever. I was curious about a couple things as part of the negotiation. So I asked her, I was like, tell me what you can tell me about how that went down a little bit. Because again, it's all about market knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But knowledge within the industry, understanding how to handle certain things, certain rejections, certain objections. So I think surrounding yourself with people you like and that can teach you things, and don't feel as though you're obligated, right? If you're in a situation and it's, this isn't working, you can always go find another team to be on.
Well, the reality is experience is everything. And that's the best way to learn, whether you're winning, whether you're losing, whatever you're going through, but use other people's experiences, like you just mentioned, to gain for you, to be able to learn what they're going through, how it was negotiated, the type of person, type of transaction, type of financing. People get really creative these days in the sense of how they're financing properties. Has anybody tried buying a property with Bitcoin yet with you?
Not specifically, but I have known of a couple that have traded with Bitcoin.
Have you ever watched $1 Million Listing?
Oh yeah.
Did you see that Ryan Serhant episode, like back when, I feel like the beginning of selling of the New York section of it, where however many years ago, 10 years ago or something, somebody tried to buy it with like 150 or whatever the number was, where today it was equivalent to like billions of dollars of whatever. And he's like scratching his head.
Very uncool if you think about it.
Right.
I honestly, I love that show.
Yeah.
I've read two of Sirhan's books.
Okay.
I read Eklund's first book, I think. And look, they've both transitioned down into the Florida market. You know, I mean, right. Sirhan's doing his thing, and Eklund lives in Miami now. You know, he lived out in L.A. and then he moved down to Miami, and he's got his team down there. So, I love and going back to making sure that everybody knows what you're doing.
Right.
I actually got that from Ryan Sirhan. Okay. You know, one of his audiobooks that I listened to, shouting it from the rooftops.
Right.
Everything you do, no matter what it is, you let people know.
Right.
Because people, the general public doesn't understand the amount of work
right.
that goes into a real estate process. Right. And
Absolutely.
the amount of work that I'm doing for you and the conversations I'm having on your behalf and the strategic way of communicating with other agents. Right. I mean, what's great to have conversations with so many agents or coworkers, associates, whatever, is our minds all think
right
naturally, our natural state very differently. So my way of communicating to certain people isn't the best sometimes. I understand that. So it's about trying to figure out the best way to communicate with people who may think on a completely different level.
Right.
Right. And I think that that's part of the learning process is how do I manage those relationships with people and have the empathy and have the understanding of how they think mentally and,
right.
you know, certain things not to say or right. certain things, how to rephrase something that means the same,
right.
but they understand in a completely different fashion.
Without a doubt, because as it goes back to listening is the key component, and it will tell you how to sell somebody, how to engage with them, how to handle whatever a situation may be. And people underestimate the value of listening throughout everything. You know, I was talking to my daughter last night. I was like, mental reps is everything. You know, think about everything that you're doing as people are telling you, go through the process because, you know, I mean, she's 8 years old. Like they're looking in, you know, during practice, looking at other practices. There's so many different things going on. But like when somebody's telling you something, take it in, you know, look at them, understand it, run yourself through it before you actually do it. And that's translates from sports to school to business to personal life. Do it before you actually do it so you understand it and you can basically it's planned.
Yeah. We try. We try with these kids.
Yeah, well,
you know,
kids are a different story.
It's you know, no matter how much I understand that their brains aren't developed and they don't, you know, they can't, it doesn't matter what way you tell them. They do not comprehend it, right? It's one of those things where
if they get the same way. I mean,
I understand. Yeah, but if they can get, we still have the conversations,
right. Yeah,
because we think we're trying to pass down, we're trying to advise, we're trying to give them a leg up,
right?
If they can retain 1% to 2%, you know, of that, and I tell the story of Kenzie, you know, my older daughter, who's a golfer. I'm a golfer, so for many years I've just talked to her about the game.
Right. And
for many years, I feel as though she heard nothing that I said.
Right.
And I'm talking thousands of conversations.
Right.
And now she's almost 14. And her understanding of things and idiosyncrasies of the game and everything else has completely shifted.
Right.
And I'm like, well, maybe she heard something. Right, because it's all of a sudden some of the things that we talked about has become innate.
Right,
you know,
and
so
be able to apply it.
Yeah, right. So they listen. They listen.
Absolutely. But everything in life, it's a game. You know, it's a strategy. It's understanding how to get from point A to point B, how to work with other individuals, because everything you do, you have to work with other people and understanding what their goal might be, because it might not be the same as your goal, but how do you get there together and how do you do the best for the people to over deliver on value, which everything that we're talking about, everything from where you started, how you've grown as an individual, evolved your business, took every single experience from everything that you've done to bring it together to truly be the consultant, the friend, the family member for all of the people that you work with day in, day out. And your expertise in a market And the fact that you go out, you do the research, you find the information because you're truly curious of the industry is something that everybody should look for. It doesn't matter what you're looking to do, whether you're buying a home, designing a home, building a kitchen, whatever it might be. You want people who are the best at what they do and they've done it before. Nobody wants to be the first one. So hearing everything that you're saying, your knowledge of the industry, the steps that you've taken to get to where you are, and your willingness to share how you did it and what people should do is something that's so important for you as an individual, for people who are listening, people who know you. And it doesn't matter if you're talking football, if we're talking golf, if we're talking soccer, if we're talking real estate, whatever it may be, you're truly curious, which is the foundation of an expert.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And
yeah, I think I love public speaking. I love consulting, coaching.
Right.
Because the reality is it keeps me informed.
Right.
By talking about it. Right. So I love, talking about the new agents. I'll sit down and talk to a new agent for an hour and just give advice, give stories, give thoughts, give whatever. And it keeps me engaged.
Right.
Right. And I believe that it also may help some of it's like talking to the kids, right? Maybe they'll take a portion of it.
Right.
Maybe they won't. Maybe they think I'm whatever. But I think that a lot of them take to heart some advice, not just from me, but the experts in the industry.
Right.
And you said something, and I think it's important. You said your goal, ultimately, my goal as a real estate agent.
Right.
This isn't totally true, but my goal isn't the client's goal.
Right.
Right. The clients have a goal. I need to know what that goal is.
Right.
Because my goal, obviously I do this for a living, right? I want to make sure that a deal closes and I get paid and I can support my family and so on and so forth. Right. But the problem is that so many agents see that goal for them. And that's the only thing they can focus on.
Right.
How do I make it to my goal? And in reality, it's not about your goal. It's about your client's goal.
Right.
So when you stop thinking about what you want at the end of this and start realizing what your clients want and need at the end of this, it will change for you.
And that's an important point for all industries. Everyone is selling something, everybody is providing something in some way. If you think about the person that is buying from you or you're doing the work for, then you will be more successful, because ultimately that is what will create longevity, sustainability to your business, referrals, and everything, because everybody feels like they are number one, that they are the most special. And if you give them that treatment, they will be there for you forever, but also you will be top of mind for every transaction for anyone that they talk about.
Absolutely.
So we talked about a lot of different things, for you personally, tips as far as how to sell, how to buy, going through the whole process, what new agents should do, what established agents should do. Is there anything that we missed that you want to touch on today that you find important in the real estate world on any level, whether it's for somebody in the business, somebody looking to sell, buy, look to move to South Florida?
I don't think there's anything we missed. Again, you're really good at this.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's the first time that we've actually sat down. I've been bugging you for.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, let's do it.
Right.
Look, I like talking into a microphone.
Right.
So for me, it was I was excited about it, and no, I saw the sheet come over.
Right.
And I was like, man, I'm gonna have to get rid of some of that stuff. I know this is conversational, but
yeah,
it was whoo. That was a long list. I was like, that must have been AI generated, that list.
No, we have an incredible team, but
you guys put that together.
But the most important factor for what we look to do is get the information for the people that we're sitting down with. I've known you for a long time personally. Like, we talk business and things like that, but obviously we've never sat down like this. But individuals who have valuable information is something that needs to be shared with people. And I hope that everybody listening, and something for you to be able to share, that people truly got valuable insight to the market, to the industry, the how-tos, because we value your opinion, we value your knowledge and experience. But if somebody wants to reach you, for buying a house, selling a house,
yeah, of course.
RustyHanna.com
is the site. You can certainly get in touch with me there, at Rusty Hanna. Pretty much everywhere social, I think. Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Look, if you Google me or you chat GPT me or whatever you do now, because that's the new search, to be quite honest.
Without a doubt.
I use that. I use that for a search now. I don't even use Google anymore.
Right.
It's incredible. But if you put me in Google, there's a couple pages. You can't not find me.
Right.
So look, please reach out. Anybody who has any questions, and we could do this again, and we could have other topics, and still talk for an hour.
Absolutely.
Within the industry about so many different things. So if you didn't get what you're looking for in the show, certainly hit me up. Send Adam a message and say, I want you to talk about this. Be happy to come back in anytime.
That'd be awesome.
But yeah, reach me anytime, whether it's looking to sell, looking to buy, any questions, thoughts about moving down. It's, I'm happy to help. Again, I enjoy it.
Right.
When I get out of doing this someday, I'll probably just consult, because I think it's great. I think for everyone who wants to understand the industry and get into it and be successful in it, there's so much to talk about and so much advice to give.
Without a doubt. And I think I just heard your jets pulling up.
I heard that too.
Landing next door. But for everybody who tuned in and listened to us, I appreciate you. For all of you that don't know, we are South Florida's, and really Florida's premier destination for everything home design, home improvement, knowledge, resources, connections, all the networks that anybody would need. But please visit all the upcoming home design and remodeling shows in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach. You can always check out our website at homeshows.com. Follow us at FL Home Shows, but make sure you subscribe to the channel. Tune in to the latest in home design and home improvement. But until next time, stay tuned for the next episode.